Today, we're going to talk about something that affects the people we care about most: our parents, our grandparents, anyone who isn't able to move around on their own. We're talking about bed sores, and they are a silent, serious, and incredibly common injury. But here's the most important thing to know about them: they are almost entirely preventable. So, what is this hidden danger that's just lurking in stillness? It's not an injury from a fall or some big accident. Nope, it comes from something as simple as the pressure of a person's own body weight. Let's break down what we're really up against here. Okay, first things first, let's get on the same page. You've probably heard them called bed sores or pressure sores. The official medical term is a decubitus ulcer. But you know what? It doesn't matter what you call it. It's all the same dangerous condition, and we're about to see exactly why. So at its core, a pressure ulcer is just an area of dead tissue. I want you to think of it like this. Imagine your blood vessels are like a little garden hose that's watering your skin. Well, if you stand on that hose, the water stops, right? That's exactly what happens here. Constant pressure kinks those tiny blood vessels, it cuts off the oxygen, and the skin tissue literally starts to die. So, who do we really need to look out for? Well, the risk factors are all things that limit someone's ability to move, or affect their circulation, or just the overall health of their skin. And that's exactly why being aware of this is so critical if you're caring for an elderly parent or a relative who's in a bed or a wheelchair. Now, to really get how this happens, we have to look at the mechanics of it. The damage isn't just caused by one thing. It's actually a combination of three different physical forces working against the body. Let's break them down. First up, and this is the big one, is pressure. This is the main culprit. It's that constant squeezing force, especially over bony areas, like your hips, your heels, or your tailbone, that just pinches off that vital blood flow we were talking about. Next, we've got friction. This one's a lot simpler. Just think of a rug burn. When skin gets dragged across sheets or clothing, that rubbing scrapes away the top protective layer of skin, which makes it way more vulnerable to a much deeper injury. And finally, there's something called shear. Now, this one's a little more complicated, but it is incredibly damaging. Picture someone who's propped up in bed, and they start to slide down. Their skin might kind of stick to the sheets, but their bones and the deeper tissues inside get pulled down by gravity. And that motion stretches and tears all those fragile blood vessels right under the surface of the skin. So the thing you have to realize is that this isn't something that happens instantly. It's a domino effect. It all starts with that pressure, which leads to less blood supply, which starves the cells of oxygen. And if that pressure isn't relieved, the tissue starts to die, and you get an open wound. The scary part is this whole process can happen shockingly fast. Okay, so let's look at how these injuries get worse over time. Pressure ulcers are sorted into 4 stages, and really understanding these is the key to knowing when you need to act. We're going to see how the damage goes from just a simple little warning sign to a critical, life-threatening emergency. Stage 1. This is where it all begins. Think of this as the body's first big warning signal. And honestly, it's the most important stage to catch, because at this point, all the damage is still completely reversible. So, what are you looking for? It's a red spot on the skin over a bony area that doesn't go away. And here's the key test. If you press on it with your finger, it doesn't turn white for a second. That's a huge sign. It means the blood vessels are already damaged. If you can find this early, you can prevent everything that follows. So what happens if that first warning sign gets missed? Well, the injury progresses to stage 2. And now we're going past a simple red mark, because this is where the skin's protective barrier is actually broken for the first time. In stage 2, you can actually see the damage. It might look like a blister or maybe a shallow open sore. The top layers of the skin are gone. And now, it's not just about tissue damage anymore. A brand new, very serious risk has just entered the picture: infection. And from here, things get a whole lot more serious. By the time we get to stage 3, the damage is not superficial at all. We are now talking about a deep, significant wound. What you're looking at with a stage 3 ulcer is basically a deep crater. The damage has eaten all the way through the layers of skin and is now down into the fatty tissue underneath. At this point, the wound is serious and needs intensive medical care to have any hope of healing. And that brings us to the final stage, stage 4. This is the most severe a pressure ulcer can get, and frankly, it's a true medical emergency where a person's life is absolutely at risk.
I mean, at stage 4, the damage is just devastating. You can actually see muscle, tendons, or even the bone itself at the bottom of the wound. The risk of a deadly infection spreading to the bone or into the bloodstream is incredibly high.
And this is why we take it so seriously. Look at these complications. An untreated pressure ulcer is not just a skin problem. It can lead to widespread infection, gangrene, and yes, in the worst cases, it can be fatal. It's a sobering thought, but understanding this risk is a huge part of prevention. Okay, I know that was all really heavy, but here's the good news. While these ulcers are absolutely severe, they can be treated. The key is taking a comprehensive approach that deals with the wound itself and the reasons it happened in the first place. So, how do you treat them? Well, it really all depends on the stage. For the early stages, it might be as simple as just getting the pressure off and improving nutrition. But for the more advanced wounds, we're talking about cleaning and dressing the wound, using medications to fight infection, and in the worst-case scenarios, surgery, like skin grafts, to close everything up. Which brings us to the most important part of this whole explainer. Because while treatment is possible, prevention is so much better. Your most powerful tool is knowledge. And there are simple, effective things you can do to stop these ulcers before they even think about starting. If you remember just one thing from all of this, please let it be this number: 2 hours. That is the magic number. For someone who is confined to a bed, turning or repositioning them at least every 2 hours is the single most effective thing you can do to keep that pressure from building up and causing damage. So what's the game plan? It's actually a pretty straightforward 3-part strategy. First, check the skin every single day for those early red spots. Second, you have to be relentless about repositioning. Every 2 hours in bed, and even more often, like every 15 minutes, for someone in a wheelchair. And third, you've got to fuel the body with good nutrition and keep it hydrated, because strong skin is healthy skin. So we've covered what a pressure ulcer is, how it forms, and most importantly, how to stop it. Knowing the signs is always the first step. So the final question really is for you. Now that you know all of this, what's the next step you can take to protect yourself or someone you love?